Hey, we're good. Alana's still sleeping, but no, Cosa dos,
Cosa dos?
yeah, uh, like from Dr. Seuss, thing one and thing two.
Yep, yep.
Cosa uno, Cosa dos. That's what I call
Marvelous.
them. It's Cosa
Very cute.
dos.
Very cute. So, hey, you didn't, Alana just knew how to write a lot better than you realized. She'd been doing little bits of writing.
Yeah, so Alana's been writing thank you cards or birthday cards or what have you for a long time. It's what she does for art. Like she doesn't typically sit down and just draw a rainbow or what have you. She always winds up using words.
Yep.
I don't know, for whatever reason. And for the last year or so, it's just been random letters, seemingly. Not really any identifiable words.
Not even like
So,
mom or dad or anything. Not even basic three-letter
um,
addresses.
I guess a few words, but certainly not sentences. Is just a
Mm-hmm.
big revelation. Like by no means.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I've been busy. My wife's been busy. Again, ever
Yep.
since he came along, we've been busier. We fear that we haven't put enough personal attention into either of our children. And so Marlo shows me this note. She said, "Read this," and there it is. She figured out. She knew the words she wanted to write, and she figured out ways to spell them that were effective enough and
Yeah, yeah.
phonetically correct.
No, she clearly wants to communicate being written for him, and it is marvelous when it's kind of spontaneous like that, and a note like that is the perfect situation. So, yeah, she seems to have this communication thing down pretty solidly.
Yeah, no, she's doing well. She loves to text message too. Like she'll like do Snapchat on my wife's phone, and then pull open a text box and just
Hmm.
scribble random letters. So I've been telling her, so why don't you think about the words you want and find the letters? I think the keyboard is harder for her because she doesn't know where the keys are, where the letters are. Whereas writing, she can. Although she writes her S's and her N's backwards, and it's so cute. It looks, I don't know. Obviously, I'm partial, but I think it's very cute with the backwards
Of
S.
course, of course. But I hadn't thought of texting as a new way to teach literacy, basically.
Oh yeah, I think
Wow.
so. It was one of the first reasons or first things that got her really interested in written communication was texting.
Hmm.
You know?
But so far, it's still just random letters. She hasn't tried to communicate using text.
Well, she doesn't have a cell phone, so she's using ours. And
Got
when
it.
she does use our phone or is playing with it, it's more just rapid fire. Look how many buttons I can push.
I see.
Buttons.
But like, if her mom's at work and you're hanging out with her, you guys could sit down and decide to text mom. Let's just say hi to mom or something like that.
Yeah, and we have done that. And sometimes she'll ask me, "Can you please text mommy? I love her. I miss her, etc., etc."
Hmm. So
And
next have her do the I love her, I miss her. She could do that.
yeah, absolutely. Especially since now I know she knows how to write "Love Alana" and "Thank you for the surprise, Grandma Lolly and Uncle Hanko." You know.
Exactly, exactly. So maybe now actually kids will learn to write earlier because of texting.
I don't doubt it. I think that that technology has its ups and downs or yin and yangs, and video game. Like when I was a kid, playing video games was looked down upon by like my parents, for instance. Get outside, get your hands in the dirt, get away from the screen,
Yep.
rot your brain. And those were true. They did spend less time outside. A lot of them did play less sports and what have you. On the other hand, they're all working in STEM now, so there's that.
So other than spontaneously writing, which is fabulous, any other developments on Alana's part they have?
um, well, for sure, that was the big one this week. That's why I sent you the text about it. And that happened maybe, I think Friday. We found the
Hmm.
note,
Yep.
so it happened a couple of days ago. Um, Nothing to note other than her, being 100th percentile and awesome all week.
Yep.
Um, Very good with her brother. Uh,
Are you
we have some
having?
new games to play, but
I was gonna say, are you having time to play games?
not a whole lot. I carry them around in my bag everywhere we go, and we manage to never wind. We rarely wind up playing them. The last couple of weeks, she's got a new matching game from Grandma Lolly. That's what the gift was that she was writing the thank you card for.
Yep.
Um,
Do she and kids her age play board games or anything like that at all yet?
no, I mean maybe Alana's got a couple friends her age that could keep up with her in a board game.
Hmm.
Um, and not just, you know, them not being smart enough or what have you, just they're not having the practice or the attention span, or maybe knowing the rules or knowing the concept of rules. I think
Right.
Alana's a little bit ahead of the game there.
Yeah, see, this is where peers become so important. A lot of this is, yeah, you can't be expected to be superhuman parents who have this incredible amount of time for your kid. But if you had a peer group, so I always like to think of indigenous tribes. In indigenous tribes, certainly by the age of 4, the kids are just out playing, and the community basically takes care of them, or there's no taking care of them for the most part. You know, and so then how do we replicate something like that in modern society, where ideally you would have a community of peers where she could, obviously you don't live in a intentional community yet, but it'd be great if you could just let her go out the door. My wife, African, when she was a kid, she would just walk out the door of her family compound and in the morning and come back late at night. But ideally you would be able to do that and know that your children were having these rich experiences. So for instance, Alana, and safe, big time safe. But Alana is, a little bit ahead of the game on the ability to follow rules. And see, for me, this is ideally what a great school would be, is that the school would not so much only be great educators, but it would be a great peer community where she could have peers who could keep up and cultivate and enhance her abilities spontaneously, naturally.
Yeah, I saw that a little bit in Fiji, with children just leaving the house in the morning and coming back. In fact, part of my non-stroller stance is that the old Fijian lady told me, sooner the child can walk and run, the better for everyone. Yeah, I didn't really understand what she meant, but it's just because as soon as they can walk, they just wake up and they disappear and they come back hungry, and that's about it.
So it sounds like Alana's peers at her school are nowhere near ready to kind of follow rules through a game. They're not ready to play checkers at all.
Well, I can't speak for peers at her school because she doesn't get to hang out with them after school much. They all live in different parts of San Diego. So aside from the odd birthday party or something that they get invited to, she doesn't get to see them a lot outside of school. And there's some really great kids there, and they've got good parents, and I wouldn't doubt that maybe some of them can play Chutes and Ladders.
Yeah. This is where I very much go to intentional communities. The idea of, I think parents who want to raise their kids together in a certain way, there's just such a benefit in having geographical proximity. I think that's kind of the next stage is, part of this is once we get rid of the, or are no longer reliant on the traditional neighborhood public school, if there were, real estate developments where you knew, oh, this has a great, K-12 Montessori school or something, or Waldorf, or whatever people are into. And then you can imagine parents, when they're at that child rearing stage, purchasing real estate there because, here where I'm totally happy with gated too, because you can imagine the experience of living in a community, and probably in this day and age would have to be gated to keep all sorts of, dangerous things out, but a fabulous school. And so we could all replicate this experience of letting them out in the morning, knowing that they're going to have a safe, fabulous, enriching day, and coming back. Because it's exhausting for two parents to try to do everything. And I think you guys, and Marlo, have been doing a superhuman job. And now it's kind of thinking strategically of, you should have, and Marlo should both have a fabulous, interesting work life, and not, be servants for your kids for the next 16 years or 18 years, whatever.
Yeah, you make a lot of good points there.
Yeah, and this is a problem our entire society is facing. Traditional cultures and so forth had this. Even, I grew up, Alana's a little bit young, but I grew up on a farm, and certainly age of 10, we'd get on our bikes and be gone all day and come back. Those boys who did this horseback ride at the age of 10 and 6, from Oklahoma to New York, I discovered that their father had been a cowboy, a working cowboy on the cattle trails at the age of 11.
Wow.
So, and then before they did the horseback ride from Oklahoma to New York, they did from Oklahoma to Santa Fe at the age of 9 and 5, respectively. So
that's probably harder. That's across just desert.
I was going to say, could you imagine next year sending Alana on a horseback ride with an older sibling or cousin. It's pretty extreme, I know, but
no, I mean it's extreme. But I was raised with horses, Michael, and my brother was a big strapping kid, and when he was 4 years old, I am telling you, he was just as useful as your average city slicker on a riding on a trail. He could move a horse. He could dust himself off if he fell off. By the time he was 8 or 9, like it actually makes sense to me that a 9 and 12-year-old or what have you could ride that far on their own. Not recommended, not ideal probably, but sort of the 19th century equivalent of taking your daughter to Colombia, except.
Well, one of my things is I think our entire conception of what's humanly possible has become so narrow, and I think we need to broaden it out tremendously, whether it is about cognitive capacity, or whether it's about physical capacity, or whether it's about natural, spontaneous learning in community. I'm tremendously frustrated with almost all discussions around education. I can't stand to read books on education because pretty much all books on education sort of assume the school model as default, and that's flawed. And then the unschooling movement is in its infancy, as I say. It's sort of just like how do we structure it thoughtfully? Because I do think I have known unschoolers, you just let them watch video games all the time, and with all due respect to video games, not all the time, So I'm very interested in this conscious creation of first homes and then communities where we can have extraordinary happiness and well-being. And I think that you and Marlo are in a great position, but a lot of people are in a position to kind of make this next phase of high-quality parenting experience, childhood experiences, and then resulting in lifetime experiences possible. Yeah. So I don't know what variables you can tweak, but I'm just in the game thing. I respect the fact you're carrying these games around and looking for times to play with Alana, but if she had 2 or 3 friends, even online, and maybe it's early, maybe it's year 2, 3 years early, but you can imagine her playing checkers or chess with in a few years with friends, sometimes in person, sometimes online. Yeah. Just playing with it.
She's gonna have to do it online. That's where the reality is that's how she can safely access a lot of peers and people is online.
Yeah.
We're talking about getting her. I think my wife gave her old cell phone, so we're gonna set her up with she has a Gmail address. We want her to be able to chat with us, do WhatsApp. So we might have to get a phone number, or I don't know what we'll do. Snapchat's easy for her. I gotta hand it to those entrepreneurs. They have made it phenomenally easy for Alana can grab it and send us snaps. Hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yeah. She snapped her way through Colombia. So that's a start, and that eliminates one of the safety concerns. Being able to keep it in a tight circle.
It's a bit out there, but it occurs to me that an innovative business model could be. Suppose we had lots of kids wanting their children to learn literacy at the age of, say, 4 by texting and Snapchat or whatever. And then, we had trained educators, probably very low-cost people in a developing country, who were trained to reply and engage in conversation and play games in a way that systematically developed their ability. And I think that could be a really cool business opportunity that's, probably 2, 3, 4 years ahead of our time, but in our spare time, there's another.
No, that's a good idea. I like that. By the way, I thought of something that happened this week that I meant to tell you about.
Sure.
A few nights ago, before Lana was going to bed, we usually have her do math problems to get her vitamins.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, I just wasn't feeling it, so I decided to do some dialogue, Socratic dialogue.
Yep.
So she sit down. I go, we're gonna just talk. She goes, okay. I said, what is fire? And she goes, well, fire is hot. Fire is burns. Fire. So what's, is fire a tool? Is it useful? Yes. What's it useful for? Cooking. Hey, good idea. Is it dangerous? Yes, it can be when you put people in it. And so we went back and forth, and we had this interesting discussion about fire as a tool, and I kind of tried to segue into fire being a technology and what technology is. I kind of lost her interest as she stared at the gummy bears.
No, that's.
Well, we're going to be doing that a lot more.
No, that's fantastic. And again, you're exactly right. I was kind of stretched beyond what we think is possible, but then just exactly like you did, bit by bit by bit, and you take them as far as they can go. And it's in no sense anything wrong if they lose interest.
Sure.
Part of the whole thing of stretching is having the intention of going farther than they've gone before,
right.
Which always means just a little bit farther this time is a victory. That's all you want, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Keep doing it.
She's smart though, Michael. She is thinking. She has. I mean, I'm again very biased, but I'm very impressed by it. I couldn't believe it. Like we had a real discussion about fire. You know.
Yeah. No, the kids that age. I think I mentioned there's I think I forget the name of it, but Piaget with his sort of levels of development missed opportunities. There's a book by Garrett Matthews, Philosophy of the Young Child, on this guy who goes back and looks at what Piaget was doing, and that Piaget missed opportunities to ask open-ended questions that could advance levels of development. So even when people say, oh, kids at this age are concrete and sequential, well, yeah, and if you start asking them questions like this, engage them in conversations, you can get young children to become remarkably abstract at a remarkably young age, and it's completely fun and natural.
Yeah.
So I should let you go and keep this reasonably short, but have a great week. Hi to Alana and Marlo, and bye-bye, Logan and Ryan.
Hey, thanks, Michael. Take care.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.